Hi everyone and welcome to the Enterprise Fitness Education Series. In this video I've got the fantastic Bob Guiel and we're talking all about gluten. A little while ago I wrote an article for Men's Muscle and Health all about gluten, which you can obviously check out, talking about the hidden dangers of gluten. And in this video we're going to get right into it, talking about, because sometimes they put, as we've discussed before, maybe in other magazines, not in Men's Muscle and Health, and obviously the article that I wrote exposing gluten. But in some other magazines, they talk about, gluten is nothing more than a fad. And actually the only reason why you want to avoid gluten is because, it may help with weight loss. But it's not sustainable, so don't you dare try that, because I'm going to make that value judgment because it's not sustainable. I don't know anyone who can stick to a no-gluten diet. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's pretty mixed. I don't know if these people who say this have any invested interest in Monsanto or any of those companies, but it's propaganda based on their belief systems. As a practitioner, I can tell you unequivocally, I don't get people off of gluten for weight loss. I get them off it for health reasons. I've got clients that come in to see me, and I'll tell you what. All I want you to do is, they could be joint inflammation, joint pain, headaches, migraines. I had one gentleman, it was pituitary tumor. Just get off the gluten. I'm not going to put you on any supplements. Just get off the gluten. And I'm telling you, 100% of the time, they come back in 6 weeks and they tell me they can't believe how good they feel. Their joint pain is gone. Their headaches are gone. They no longer have acid reflux.
Well, in the New England Journal of Medicine, it's been shown that gluten is linked to over 55 diseases.
Actually, more.
More now,
I just read an
more.
article recently where they said they can link over 300 disease processes to gluten. Yeah. So it's not a fad, and I've had people argue with me that, well, it's a protein, and we need protein. We have to have protein in our bodies. Gluten's a protein. There are many types of proteins. Okay. Like I said, you've heard me say this. Viruses are proteins. We don't want them in our body. The prions that cause mad cow disease are proteins. We don't want them in our body. They're not helpful. Gluten is a very, very small, very, very tightly bound protein, more akin to the size of a virus. There is no human being that has the ability to digest and break down gluten. At best, it just passes through the system. We don't use it as a protein.
And when it passes through the system, for it to actually be broken down, we have this thing called the immune system. And I always do this thing when I teach gluten. Pew, pew, pew. It's kind of the antibodies, the cytokines, and the lymphocytes, which are like your body's army that go out and destroy that gluten, break it down so it actually can be passed through. It's not this case that it can just be it needs to be broken down by something. Usually that's your immune system.
And that's how now you over time. Everybody's different. They know there's a genetic predisposition for celiac disease. Okay. It's less than 1% of the population. Suppose you're about 1 to 2%. I don't think anybody really knows for sure.
That's because the average diagnosed age of celiac disease is between 40 to 45, because there needs to be enough collateral damage to the gut. And sorry, I just need to go off on this tangent as well. The amount of clients that have come in here and friends of mine that I've had to say when they go into the doctors and they say, look, I think I have a problem with gluten, I think I'm a celiac, and the doctor's gone back and said, well, for the next 8 weeks I want you to eat 8 slices of bread a day for us to determine whether you are actually a celiac. Now the reason is because to diagnose celiac is your villi inside your gut, it needs to be 95% of the way gone. Which means that if you're 85% there, you can't be diagnosed. If you're 50% of the way there, you can't be diagnosed. 8 weeks of eating gluten every day, 8 slices of bread, I mean, that's torture. And,
if you have any sensitivity to it, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be sick. Your stomach's going to be
bloated. You can destroy your gut as well.
Oh, yeah. I saw a study that was released by the Centers for Disease Control in the United States. I think it was 2004, that they said in this report, which never got out to public, that they believe that up to 70% of the population now has some problem with gluten, and it's one of the most undiagnosed conditions. Now, where all this propaganda is coming from about people posting gluten's not bad, all this, I don't know where that's coming from, but I believe someone who's manufacturing genetically modifying gluten has some invested interest in making us believe that it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, gluten is almost found in everything.
Yeah.
Right. So I think as well, when you start telling people that, stop eating gluten, there is that natural inclination to say, well, surely Cocoa Puffs are good for me. Surely Kellogg's Cornflakes is good for me. Surely bread is good for me. Surely, that sauce that, whatever brand sells, all those things. People don't lie, like corporations. Bob, what are you talking about? These corporations have been part of the social fabric of time since I've been alive. They couldn't possibly. Advertising doesn't lie, does it?
That's the biggest belief system and the biggest fallacy. For one thing, these companies are so large that they don't have to adhere to the same laws you or I do.
No.
It's kind of like the pharmaceutical companies, okay? Fourth leading cause of death in the United States at one point was properly prescribed prescription medications. Now, if you or I designed something and put it on the market and it killed somebody, we'd be in jail for the rest of our lives. Corporations don't do that. When you look at, like, in the United States, we have Kraft, Post, General Mills, Miller Beer, and Oscar Mayer. They're all owned by one blanket company. Philip Morris. Who's Philip Morris? They're a tobacco company. What does a tobacco company do? They spent their life doing research on how to get you addicted to their cigarettes so you'd buy more. They do the same thing with foods. In foods, they have what they call the bliss point. How much sugar, fat, and salt do we need to add to this to get people addicted? And how can we manipulate the research to get you to believe it's healthy? They actually market. They strategize how to market to children to get the children to convince their parents that they absolutely need these foods, get us addicted on it.
Did you see any of that stuff with milk that they did in the 60s? The dairy industry gave away a lot of free milk to make it normal, and then started bastardizing the milk from the decades over that. Have you read or seen anything about that?
I saw something on that. I didn't really see it in detail. But I know that, like, with milk in the United States anyways, there's this big, huge government subsidy, and it allows these milk companies to manipulate things so that they basically will never lose money. So if sales start to go down, the government will actually help them promote the use of milk to bring the money up, or allow them to transfer it into other areas so that they never lose money, so they can keep this high production and constantly make money whether people buy it or not.
So what you're really saying is food is actually political.
It's hugely political.
I say that tongue in cheek, of course.
No, it is.
But back to the issue of gluten. You were telling me, you're about to tell me a story about magazines and a professor who, I think he said, this is what I eat, and he's trying to say supplements are bad for me.
No, I saw this on a video when I was coming down here, and it was very interesting. And it was this doctor trying to prove that there's no validity to supplements. We don't need supplements, and he's a medical doctor. He wants to prove it. So he puts out on the street, this is all the food I eat in a week. And a lot of it's this box processed food, and he picks up this box and goes, look at, why would I need a supplement fortified with, and he lists all these essential vitamins and nutrients. And he's a doctor, he's supposed to be intelligent. What fortified means is when they process the food, they stripped it completely of its nutrients, and then they put in these substitute nutrients that they actually derive mostly from coal tar. But it's not like, we talk about the different tiers of supplement companies. There are upper level tiers of companies, good quality products, and there's cheaper ones. You can guarantee that if a food company is putting a supplement back, a nutrient back into a food, they're using the cheapest, nastiest, most unbioavailable supplement they can find, because it's all about cost and maximizing profits. So even for this doctor to say that is incredibly unintelligent.
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry if I sound the way I do, but it's true.
Well, I mean, it's fair. I think there's a lot of people out there in fairyland and live in a bubble, and they think that this is the world according to the government, or this is the world according, and they don't really realize the harm that they're propagating.
Right, exactly. And they don't understand, as you said earlier, with the advertising and everything on TV and all this stuff is really, it's not meant for our benefit. No. It's meant for the profits of these huge corporations that already amass billions and billions of dollars.
Well, that's the thing. People don't realize that food is a business, and there is a business to selling food, and they're in it to make money. Do you know much about, I suppose, in 85, New Coke? New Coke, they tried to increase the caffeine, increase the sodium in it, and increase the sugar, I believe, but it was rejected from the marketplace because they did that. The consumer, and I believe it was they didn't like the taste. But basically one of the secrets in Coca-Cola is that there is sodium in it, which gets you a little bit thirsty, which actually makes you drink more. Having the caffeine in it, mild diuretic, makes you obviously urinate so that you actually want to be able to drink more, essentially.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. This actually turned into a bit more of a rant than anything else, getting us talking about food politics. We're both obviously very passionate about that. I mean, this kind of information, this is what we love to talk about. You can definitely watch more of our videos on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us. Like us on Facebook, and obviously feel free to share this with your friends and family members if you do like what we're doing. And we would love to see you at a course that we're going to be running. Check out the Enterprise Fitness website for future dates and listing. Thanks for watching.